Hey there. Let's build a slide that can serve as a gate leading to the next steps in your program. It's just one example of how you can build better e-learning slides faster. It's time to Let's get started by rounding up our slide ingredients. For this slide, we'll use 4 eLearning Art cutout characters, an eLearning Art photo background, several native shapes from PowerPoint, and a little bit of text. I'm going to use Insert Pictures, and there's that. I can click Insert because of the workflow that I just used, or I could have just had that opened that file and dragged and dropped this onto my slide. So I bring it on, and I'm currently holding down Shift and pulling that lower corner to get the slide, get the sizing right for this background picture. What I want to do is make sure that this blue tile that's up that's on the photo itself is above the top edge of my slide. I don't want that distracting at the top of the slide itself. So I just size it accordingly. And I'm going to push it up a little bit so that this guide where the blue box is will kind of hit right about where the sidewalk runs. Now I'm going to go and acquire the characters that are in the background. And in order to do that, I'm going to go to the eLearning Art Library. So I've just opened Chrome, and I'm going to go to elearningart.com, which is the main website for eLearning Art, and click Login up here in the upper right. It will populate my credentials, so I just have to click Login, and now I'm inside of the eLearning Art Library. So you can see it kind of looks similar, but is actually a different system altogether. I want to use the filtering method for acquiring my characters, so I'm going to go ahead and click up here, try our new filters. That'll take a moment to open. It's a little slower when I have Zoom running, so you've got to bear with me just a bit. We're looking at characters, photo characters, and the set from which both the waiters and the police officers come is the specialty set. So I'll roll down to that, and now I have my specialty characters kind of selected out of the whole group of 50,000 plus images. All of our characters are side facing, so they're kind of in conversational positions where they might be facing one another as opposed to facing the viewer. So I can once again filter down and narrow it down just a little bit more by using that angle side. And here's one of our waiters. I'm going to go ahead and click into his collection, but I know that I want him texting on his phone. So the way to zoom in really fast on all of the side angle poses for this character in his waiter outfit is to go to the prop list. Let me pull this down a little bit. Go to the prop list and click on cell phone. Now you see I have all of these side angle versions of David the waiter with his cell phone. I want him texting, so I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And I'm going to download him in the large format. Now he's fairly small on that slide, so actually I could get by with with the smaller ones, but I like to download in a larger size because that way it gives me more versatility. If I want to reuse this picture on another slide but bigger, I'm not limited by a smaller resolution. So I go ahead and download this one, and I'm going to set it to download. Now here in Chrome, of course, it will download directly to my download bar. So what I'm going to do is scoot this to the side so you can see how I'm able just to click here and drag it directly onto my slide. That's a super convenient thing to be able to do. Here we go. We have Faye, the other character for the background. I'm going to click on her and insert her. Now remember, these two are actually facing one another, so I'm going to click on David and using the rotate tool, flip horizontal. Now they're both facing one another. They're quite a bit smaller and well into the background, standing right near the front door of their restaurant. So I'm going to select both of them and holding down the Shift key and clicking on that upper corner. Oops, they both flipped on me. Okay, I'm going to bring them down in size. Now I pull them up into that area and you can see they're still a little bit too large. I'm judging their height based on the door that they're standing in front of. Since they're a little bit in front of the door, they can be tall relative to the door, but they can't be super tall because they're not giants. So I just kind of eyeball that until I feel like it's feeling right, that I've achieved what I want to achieve in terms of selling that idea that those two people are standing in front of a door. And that's it for compositing my background. My next step is to add what I call a fader box to bring that background well into the back of the slide. And that's just a simple process of adding a box, a rectangle here in PowerPoint, filling that with white, removing the outline, and then using the format shape dialog, moving the transparency up to about, I usually do it right around 35%. Now that's going to sit well in the background and it won't be fighting with the interest that we have in the foreground. And we'll proceed with adding that rectangle at the base of the slide. Fill that with the darker blue. And you notice I just used that guide that I set earlier, so I don't really have to do much thinking about where that's going to go because it's already been worked out. Now I'm going to return for the text and the button. I'm going to return to our ingredients slide, just really to save time here. I could build those natively for the slide itself. I've selected them. I'm doing Control C. All right, so those are in place, and now all we need to do is to bring in our characters. So I'm going to go ahead and use Insert. And I can grab both of the two police officer characters by clicking Control. That allows me to skip over whatever's in between. And there they are on the screen. I have the officer whose name is Jordan on the left and the officer whose name is Amanda on the right. Jordan obviously needs to be rotated, flip horizontal. And you might see it in the sample slide, they're zoomed in quite a lot more than they are when they first land on the slide. Now, a good trick here in PowerPoint is to know that it's actually very hard to work in the space that's around a slide if you can't see it. So the best thing to do is to use this magnifying, or in this case, demagnifying setting down in the lower right-hand corner. And so you have lots and lots of space around your slide. Now you actually can do your work. So I'm selecting both of those characters, holding down the Shift key, and pulling them up. Now, I know that I don't want Jordan's hand to fall off the bottom of the slide, and I can kind of use the guide that I set earlier for the base of the slide and see that right now he's too big, his hand is falling off, and that's probably about right. So those are set, and I can come back to the top, and basically there's our slide all built and ready to go. Now, if I wanted to save this, for example, for some reason I wanted to just capture this scene alone, like, I don't know, maybe I want to use it in my portfolio or I need it for a mock-up or something like that. A really simple workflow is to go to File, Save As. I'm going to specify my desktop as the location and then drop down here to PNG. And it will ask me, do I want to output all the slides as separate PNGs or just this one? And I'll say just this one. Now on my desktop, we now have that slide ready to go. Here it is as a completed PNG.